Hey, welcome back to Believe You Are a Good Mom. We have Bonnie Lyman with us today. This is so fun, so exciting. So, Bonnie, tell us all about yourself.
Well, I'm older than dirt.
Oh,
I'm 74 years old and I'm still loving life. I've had cancer. I've had some children do some things that I never dreamed they would be doing. But, you know, life is so good. It's so amazing. So I feel like I can have this outlook because I choose to think life is amazing. And so that's what I'm going to focus on. And yeah, there's some hard parts, but just make the decision to deal with the hard parts and you get through them. I'm not going to die because of hard things.
maybe.
And
But if you do, then that's what,
and so I mean, like, do you want me to tell you a little bit about my coaching, what I do 8 to 5?
Sure. You can tell us.
Okay. Well, my husband's retired and I was certified as a life coach and I knew I wanted to start this business, but I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We knew we wanted to go on a mission, and so I felt like I didn't want to start my business till after we did that because we did it soon after he retired, and we were able to go to Kenya, Africa.
And
And
let me interject here that you can watch the video on Spotify, or I'll probably put this up on YouTube at some point if I remember. And you can see some beautiful African art on the wall behind Bonnie if you watch the video from Kenya.
okay,
So,
I just threw those up. Those were a Maasai tribe way back when. That was when they got dressed up. They put those around their neck, and now they really don't wear it except if they're putting on a show to earn some money.
yeah, we'll get
But anyway, I come back from Africa, and the most amazing experience of my life. In fact, I told my husband I wanted to be buried there.
Oh, wow.
And he said, well, I don't know if I'm willing, if I'm still alive or the kids are willing to pay that much money to get you over there.
And for all
But
of them to get
anyway,
there for the
that's how much I just love these happy people that had nothing. It's a third world country, and I learned so much. Anyway, so when I came back, it was just about 3 weeks, maybe it was 4, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I did my having cancer part of my life, and it was difficult. And I really didn't think I'd be able to coach. Um, I am in 24/7 pain
Oh, wow. Wow.
because this cancer was in my bones, and I was diagnosed when I just one day I fractured 3 vertebrae.
Oh,
A couple of weeks later, I fractured 2 more, and
oh.
they knew it was more than just osteoporosis. So I got through that, and then I started
But you're still in
my
pain
business.
every day. Is that what you're saying?
Um, yeah,
Or
I am, but again, I have chosen to, if I decide to do things that fill me up and serving others, running my business, I can manage it.
that's
And
amazing.
then there's some parts of the day it's screaming at me,
Mhm.
but I feel like even our negative emotions, they just want a little attention.
Yeah.
So my physical pain, it just wants a little attention. So I'll get in a more comfortable chair or lay down for a little bit.
Mhm.
And then my mind says, I'd rather be doing something else. Or maybe sometimes I'd take a 2-hour nap.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't have these responsibility of little kids like a lot of your listeners do.
Yeah, 2-hour nap sure sounds nice.
But,
Lisa.
I do have responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't let it affect my life,
Yeah, that's amazing.
because we all have negative things that we're dealing with. I would rather deal with this physical pain than be lonely.
Mm.
Somebody else may have a different attitude.
Yeah. Well,
But
everyone's going through a lot, right? And I can never imagine doing what anyone else does. But somehow,
right.
we're able to do what we have to do.
So when I got certified, that was before my mission. That was in 2014. Many of you may know Jody Moore, so I just have to plug in there. I knew Jody before anybody did, because she's my daughter. And all I did was birth her. That's all I did. I did not teach her to be as great and wonderful as she is. And if you were going to say one parent influenced her, I'd have to say it was her dad. And her dad doesn't even listen to all of her podcasts, which I listen to every single one. But anyway.
Well, here's the thing, Bonnie. If we're going to take credit for how great our kids are, we have to take the blame when they do things we don't like, right?
Right. And I'll tell you, she's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
She's done some naughty things in her life. But, yep. And this was even before coaching, we talked to Emily a little bit before we started recording. I had one daughter. She was not married, and she came to us and told us she was pregnant. And so we talked to her. Okay, what's next? And, a lot because of our faith. And I'm not critical of anybody that makes a different decision, but we feel that every child is entitled to be raised by two parents. So we could see that the father of these kids, who she dated for a number of years, marriage was not going to be an option for them for whatever reason. And so I think maybe it was a gift, but I and my husband, we never blamed ourselves, that it was our fault that we didn't teach her correctly, I never taught her, hey, if you're going to have sex before marriage, you might want to consider using birth control. Mm-hmm. Because of other values that we taught her, that we felt you should abstain from those kind of relationships until you're married. Mm-hmm. And so when this happened, we didn't blame ourselves that, I guess we didn't teach her that.
Well, let me interrupt and ask you a question, because a lot of moms, ever since they're born, we blame ourselves. So like, if my son hits my daughter, I make it mean I'm a bad mom because I didn't teach him not to hit. Right. Versus if my son hits my daughter, I know that he's just having some big emotions that he doesn't know how to deal with. And that's, just a natural bodily reaction to those emotions. Right. And so how did you have that wisdom to know that it, you didn't need to blame yourself? Were you that wise when you were young with your littles that you didn't blame yourself for random little kid things too?
No, I would have to say I probably raised my kids out of fear. I had this big, long list of everything I had to teach them in order for them to become a responsible adult, live a happy life, just, the basics of becoming self-reliant in life. And so I was always my husband was just laid back.
Yep.
For instance, I had one son that didn't get his Eagle Scout, and it was like, for him to be the best husband, father, employee, whatever, he needed to get and earn that, go through the process of getting that award.
That's what you were thinking?
Yes.
That
And
yeah.
and then here is my husband, who my kids all idolize.
Uh-huh.
And my son would keep reminding me, but dad never
Didn't
got
have his ego,
his.
right? Yeah.
So the thing I learned, there's no guarantees in life.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, for our benefit, we need to loosen the grip a little bit. And so that comes, we don't blame ourselves, because I really believe I never got up and said, I am not going to be a good mom today.
Right.
But I can say some days I was a better mom than others. Some days I got lazy. I really like to sew. So I just ignored, all sorts of things. But, it was this idea, and I think it was subconscious, that there's no guarantees. So the one thing I think that we want to be sure and do, and this doesn't mean you don't set any boundaries for your kids from when they're little, or you do set a lot of boundaries because you're trying to protect them and that's your way of guiding them,
Mhm.
is that, and even now, which I feel, if I judge myself about anything, did did do did my kids know I loved them no
Mhm.
matter what they did?
Mm.
And you know what? Their dad, who was less involved in teaching, disciplining, they know that about their dad.
Yeah.
I even had one child say, if my mom died, I'd be really sad. But if my dad died, I don't know. I don't know how I could go on. And he really didn't have a lot to do. I mean, I can remember a girlfriend, we'd have a girls' night out. And so he'd stay home and the kids had homework, and I'd come home and I'd go, so did the kids get their homework done? And he'd say, oh, I don't know. I don't even know if they had homework.
Right.
But you know what? They all graduated from elementary school, they all graduated from high school. And even if they were held back, it wasn't because of that parenting thing. There's probably something else. It was probably to their benefit
Yeah.
that they had to repeat a grade.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of, focusing on, which I don't know if I did. I really felt like I lived out of fear. So when this happened to my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was because I really believe that love always wins. Love is always an option.
Mm-hmm.
Love is always available. You don't love somebody when it's convenient.
That's when they need
Love
it
just
most,
loves.
right? Yeah.
Just like my grandson, who has this ratty little stuffed animal that all the comfy fur is gone.
Uh-huh.
He cannot go to bed. And what is he? He's 5 years old now. He cannot go to bed without that little, he calls it his lovey.
Yeah.
He unconditionally loves that thing. It gives nothing back to him. So when you're raising those kids, all they do, yeah, they'll give you hugs They're going to give you a lot more hugs than when they become adult. So
Mhm.
every hug you get, man, you savor it and you just hug them tighter.
So funny. I was just trying to get my 1-year-old to hug me today. She's like so busy. I'm like pulling her out
Yeah.
of her car seat and I just want a cute little hug because she's so cute. And she's just like, put me down. I just want to go live my life. I'm like, but you're only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So love just loves. And I wasn't raised in a home. In fact, it was the opposite. And I
Mhm.
think it was partly a generational thing
Yeah.
and partly other issues. I was never told anything I did right. There was no physical emotion. There was no verbal expression of love. But, you know, there were some actions there. I never thought my parents didn't love me or, you know, I wish they showed more love. But so when that happened to my daughter, my thought was, my daughter needs me more now than probably any other time she is going to need me in my life.
Yeah.
But I think I was able to think that because I was practicing loving people beforehand, but especially practicing loving people that were difficult to love.
Yeah.
And so our kids, like I say, you know, they think they need you to do everything. And so we can say, well, you can't find your backpack? Well, just go look for 10 more minutes and then I'll help you, you
Mhm.
know? But yeah, and they're going to annoy us, they're going to exhaust us. But, you know, that's just a negative emotion. We're not going to die.
Yeah.
And so the reason we just automatically love these kids, just like my grandson loves that little lovey,
Mhm.
that's what keeps us going. And that's why we never get up. You know, if you were to get up several times in your child rearing days of your young kids and say, I'm just gonna be a crummy mom today. Well, then maybe you did do some things that influence them to behave a certain way. But we're all snowflakes. We're all so totally unique.
Mhm.
I had the opportunity at my church to teach the 14 and 15-year-olds. And so
Mm.
I have, there's always, you know, I joint taught it with somebody else, but
Mhm.
there's always a Sunday school president or another leader in our church would just come in because they wanted to connect with the youth and sit on that class. And these kids, you know, it was work to keep their attention.
Yeah.
And they go, you need to get them to respect you.
Hmm.
You need to tell them that they're not being respectful. You need to rope them in or something. And my thought was, why would I want to change somebody when they're just acting like a normal 14 or 15-year-old would act? So your son or somebody's son that keeps hitting or being unkind to another sibling, they're just being themselves. And
Mhm.
yes, there probably needs to be a consequence or it needs to be addressed. But that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Or him. It doesn't mean that he's a bad kid. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad mom. It means that he hit his sister. Like that happened.
Right,
And what was his thought feeling combination that led to that action, right?
right. And so I think we have to be careful because our weaknesses can become our strengths. Let's be careful that we don't break their
Yeah.
spirits,
Mhm.
that they can't turn that weakness
And
into
let
a
me add
strength.
this too, Bonnie, because this is what I've been working on myself lately, is that if I feel like my weakness, like say like my fiery temper or something, is
Mhm.
like is
Mhm.
this weakness that's like I'm beating myself up about it all the time. Oh, I'm still losing my cool. Oh, I'm such a terrible mom because I yelled at my kids. Then I'm trying to what you just said that we always say about kids, that we don't want to
Break their
break their
spirits?
spirit.
No.
Yes. And so, yes, maybe this is my strength overused, that I feel really big. I have really big emotions. I have a big heart. That is a good thing. And sometimes it leads to other things, but it's all part of who I am. And if I break my spirit in if I could wake up one day and magically not lose my cool all day long, like I think that a good mom should behave, then I wouldn't be me anymore. I wouldn't be as passionate. I wouldn't as passionately love them if I don't get as passionately annoyed by them. Does that make sense? And so it's all just two sides of the same coin. And we're trying to break our own spirits as moms sometimes, is that we're like, I'm bad. There's something wrong with me. Why can't I keep it together? Da, 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 da. And that shame, right? That there's something wrong with us, but there's nothing wrong with us. We're just doing things that we think aren't ideal. And that's part of this mortal life, right? Just trying to figure out all this stuff out. So it goes for our kids, it goes for us, it goes for our daughter-in-laws, it goes for our adult children, all the everyone. It goes for everyone. It doesn't matter our age, we're all still mortals trying to figure this out. And I find it easier to be like, well, he's just a kid being a kid, or he's just a 14-year-old being a 14-year-old in the Sunday school class. Of course that's how he's going to act. But same with us. We're just an adult being an adult. We're just a
Right.
woman being a woman. We're just a human being a human. And to have grace for that, you know?
And so, if you look back, say, ooh, I, I lost my cool more times than what I wanted to today.
Mm-hmm.
If it's bothering you, if it's causing you to feel something negative, you know, about yourself, is I'm kind of losing my train of thought here right away, but it's deciding, you know, what can I do, without beating yourself up, or where I really wanted to go. Why today was it more difficult?
Yeah.
Why was it more difficult parenting today? Why did I lose my temper? And you kind of look back and you go, you know, my husband and I had this huge fight right before he went out the door. I had a terrible night's sleep last night. You know, I wasn't able to keep up on the dishes or the laundry.
Mm-hmm.
So you go, of course, I'm kind of upset with myself. And so I took it out on them.
Yeah.
And that's what we as humans do.
Yeah.
But then you do that turnaround and say, but I still showed my kids I loved them in this way. I still love my kids, you know,
Yeah. And it's the
and
same as when
and
the
you have grace,
yeah.
you have compassion for yourself instead of just saying, "Yep." But your kids aren't thinking that. Your kids aren't thinking, "Oh, yesterday mom only lost her temper twice, and
Yeah.
today it was 7 times." They're not keeping score. We may be keeping score, but your kids aren't.
Yeah. Well, we never know what kids are thinking. So
Right,
and they're
right.
gonna
But most likely, as all of us do, most of our thinking is about ourselves.
right. Right. Exactly. Okay. So I feel like I interrupted you a couple times. Do you feel like
No,
something to
no,
go back to?
interrupt
Okay.
me because I can get way too long-winded.
Me
I feel
too.
so passionate about all
Yes,
this.
exactly. It's all good. So, so yeah, just like if the son hits the daughter, instead of like hyper focused on that action, what was his thought and feeling that drove him to that action? And get curious about that and figure out what's going on for him. We need to do that for ourselves. Just like you just demonstrated. If I'm losing my temper, what's going on for me? Oh, I'm still, upset about the fight with my husband or the dirty dishes or whatever. Like these are where my thoughts and my feelings are at. So of course I'm on edge and any little thing's going to tip me off. So that's what we work on in coaching, right, Bonnie? That's what we
Right,
help people
right.
with, figuring
And
out.
I think that's so good that we don't have those conversations with ourselves enough. Compassionate conversations. What's up, love?
Mhm.
This isn't like you.
Yeah.
What needs attention here?
Yeah. So good. Just like your physical pain, your body is trying to tell you something.
Yes.
And our emotions are our bodies trying to tell us something, trying to tell us that there's something going on in our brains that's making us feel something. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
See
Or
what our needs are.
redirect your focus. Okay, I lost my temper 5 or 6 times today, but here is a list of good things I did
Exactly.
today.
I know. Why do we hyper focus on the negative? And
Yeah.
I tell you, this is what people tell me all the time. Yeah, but there's all the yeah buts, right? So if I'm compassionate with myself, then I'll just let myself off the hook. And I'm like, yes, who wants to be on a hook? Right? Let's let ourselves off the hook. What are we so afraid of? It's only going to make us
Emily,
better.
yeah, Emily, one thing I think is we're not intentional enough and we don't practice enough. We don't practice enough, like just like that suggestion of talking to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always tell my clients, okay, what are you going to work on this week? Okay, what do you need to do to remember? So,
Yes.
like, even if you took a little Sharpie and maybe put a little heart on your hand, that would remind you, I'm going to practice, not today, not just controlling my temper, but I'm going to practice loving myself more and being more compassionate for myself when I disappoint myself in behaving in a way that I feel is affecting my children. And what is it affecting? Is it affecting if they can get to sleep tonight? Is it affecting what kind of an adult they're going to be?
Yeah. We
Probably
think
not.
every little thing we do is going to affect that. And maybe
Yeah.
it will. And maybe the neuroscientists prove that it is. And so what? That's the part of the plan. It's all the plan. I always say that
Yeah.
we're messing them up in all the perfect ways because
And
that's the whole plan.
I had a client the other day, and I remember on her consult, she started talking about, I don't know, she's been married 35 years. Day one, she had this perfect marriage to this perfect man. Now, he wasn't perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was he was a perfect husband, he was a perfect dad, he did all of this. She's got a couple girls that are older, and one of the things they say that aren't married, I mean, she's got a bunch of kids that are married, but she said, we can't find somebody as perfect as dad.
Exactly.
And so it's good to be
Mm-hmm.
imperfect because it allows our children then to have better self-images, better self-esteem about themselves.
Exactly. It sets the bar at a realistic place. And I even
Yes.
tell my kids that all the time. You're welcome that I'm being so imperfect right now so that you don't hold yourself up to some standard of perfection that's elusive. Because I don't know how she found a perfect husband, but I don't think those exist.
Well,
And
it was, it's perfect in her eyes.
yeah. And the
She
kids too were
she may
fooled.
be, because I don't believe in the one,
Mm,
but apparently for her, it kind of sounds
yeah.
like, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
But I can remember telling my kids raising them, they'll say, Mom, you are so mean when, I wouldn't let them date by a certain age or something. And I go,
Mhm.
you're so lucky to have a mean mother.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just kind of, let's just play with it. I talk about, let's just roll with life. There's going to be great things and there's going to be hard things.
Yeah.
And together, the messiness and the amazingness of life is what makes it so wonderful.
Yeah. Sure is. All right, Bonnie. So tell people where they can find you to get more of your wisdom. I don't know if you even said who you coach.
Okay. I work with moms to stop struggling in their relationships with their adult children.
Yeah.
And I'll just give you one little tip that I give, that when your children become an adult, and that could be at 18, or that could be maybe after they totally cut the financial tether from you, after college or something, but you essentially quit one job. You don't quit your job as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
but you quit your role of your job as a parent, and your new role, you have one responsibility, and that is to love your children no matter what they do. And my husband added something, who, he's really not into all this coaching stuff. Is
Even though he has how many kids that are coaches and his wife.
Yeah, he goes, can we just not talk about feelings? he he said, and to tell them as often as you can, and specific, how great and wonderful they are. That is going to help more than anything with your relationship with your adult children. So you can't give advice. Your new role is just those two things. You don't give advice without permission, and so forth and so forth. So there is a lot of expectation pain, because nobody talks about what happens and all this turmoil of when your kids become adult children. We talk about it as teenagers. There may be a lot of speed bumps in the road, but we don't talk about it. So I help people how to choose love on purpose.
So awesome. I love it. And I love that addition that your husband put in there, because that's what my whole message of my podcast is. Remind them how wonderful they are. Okay. So you are a good mom, and remind your children that they are good. And no matter what, especially when, even if we are, it's who we are. And so, Bonnie, your clients, no, my clients, so moms of young kids also have a mom, and they have a mother-in-law who is a mom of an adult child. And so if you feel like your mother-in-law needs a coach, send them to Bonnie. If Bonnie's clients feel like their daughter-in-law needs a coach, send them to me. So this is our symbiotic relationship here.
Right. So
And
you can find me at bonnielyman.com.
uh-huh.
And I have a podcast called Loving on Purpose.
So good.
And I also have a newsletter. If you go to bonnielyman.com, you can sign up for that. And I have a free resource on how to be yourself around your adult
And she's selling
children.
this freebie really hard. Come on. What is it again? Your free resource? How to what?
How I could be paraphrasing it. How to be yourself, act like yourself around your adult children. Because
Nice.
most of my clients say I have to walk
Walk
on
on
eggshells.
eggshells. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm going to upset it.
Yeah.
But you don't. It's we've got usually you got a manual, you got unfulfilled expectations. So I help you kind of tear those down and have a different kind of expectation. And so I'm also on Instagram where you can get access to my website and all this other stuff. My handle is at Bonnie Lyman Coaching.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So fun. Well, send your mother-in-laws there and and send your daughter-in-laws to me. And we're all gonna help
We'll
everybody
do it.
find love is what always wins is the answer. What's your podcast called again?
Loving
Oh,
on purpose.
oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. We do have to do it on purpose. Otherwise, we're in our default brain that goes to annoyance and resentment and
Yep.
all the things.
Yep. And it's all, you can't control your kids.
Yeah.
But you can, no matter what their behavior is, I can get you to where you feel peace
And that's
and love
exactly
and compassion.
that's exactly my same message. Whether your kids are adults or toddlers, you can't
Yep.
control them, but you can get to love and peace and compassion. So good.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks,
All
Bonnie.
right.
We'll talk to everybody later. Hold on. There's no outro to this. So let me tell you, if you need help believing that you are a good mom, go to dropthewordlifecoach.com/believe. And you can get my free pre-recorded masterclass to get started. Okay. See you next time.